Functioning with Barry Brown. I'm Barry Brown, and today's guest is John Valadez.
Yes.
He is a LA native, I'd say realist, contemporary modern realist artist.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I came across his artwork at a friend of mine's gallery, Eastern Projects Gallery, and it was an emotional piece. I couldn't stray away from it. And I immediately asked Rigo, I said, what is this? Where did this come from? And he always like, oh, that's John Valadez. He's, one of the last real storytellers. Cool. And that's how I came across your piece. We were talking about it too right now on, I guess if we want to break down a little bit of your history first before we go into the art. You were born and raised here, and basically your whole art career started here in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, no. For many years, I hardly ever left LA. Because I'm a product of a very classic East LA Valley story. Teenagers like
parents, colors and.
Well, when I'm talking about my parents, my dad was from Roosevelt, my mother was from Garfield. I was born when she was 16, but bless her heart, she had to drop out of school, and he was with Garrity. It's up in the hills there,
Like we're like in the East LA.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, East LA. Yeah. Garrity, Loma are the hills between the little valley where the 10 freeway runs through, across from Cal State. LA, if you look to the south, that's Garrity, Loma, all those hills.
And now I know what that is. I never knew what that was.
Yeah, it's also like El Sereno area too. Yeah, so anyway, so my brother and I were born, my mother was very young, and then my dad was a character, and he had an interesting life. So finally, we grew up in Estrada Courts because, she was young. But it was interesting because I grew up from a teenager, but I grew up in the era of the baby boom post-World War II generation. All of my friends, they're by and large, their fathers were from the
war.
World War
Crazy.
II,
Crazy.
Yeah, and then I was a little, Mexican-American kid, and I got politicized when I was in high school. I couldn't go to Roosevelt because my dad was there, and I had cousins. I used to be a long distance runner, so I ran against my cousins. I beat them, because we were the 2-mile run, and then my brother came after me. He was about a year and a half younger, and he kicked everybody's ass. He was got records and stuff because he was more of the Indian guy. I'm more of the Hispanic. I guess I followed my mother. He followed my father in terms of color and stature and whatever. But I'm from LA.
You're East LA in that whole region.
Yeah.
And, when did you? So like when I see kids, like I remember in junior high, they just can draw, like period, end of story. There are even in elementary school, I would see these kids. They're given the gift of just being able to really draw faces and stuff like that. When was like that first moment you think where you were like, was it in elementary school? Were you already kind of like drawing and stuff?
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't ever think that I was really good. I was one of these guys that really had to try because some of my friends were really good, man. They could just, they had this fluidity. I had to really concentrate and, I was always like either came in second or third, but I really appreciate that because that's why I kept going. A lot of these people, I remember kids. There was a little kid at a bank once, and he was doing like Michelangelo rendered.
Wow. He
was a master. But you don't hear from him because the dude probably says, "Oh, well, I can do that. I'm gonna try to be a bank manager now or something."
Yeah.
I want to be a scientist or a doctor.
You were the crazy one that like actually stayed. And
For various things, for various reasons. But the first thing that it's kind of a funny story, but when the Flintstones came out, about the third grade, I did a drawing of Fred Flintstone as carefully as I could. I took it to class, and my friend said, "You didn't draw that, man. Don't be telling us this bullshit. You don't." So I thought, wow, they think I don't know what. It was like was trying to.
I think you bought it or got it off some like.
It was weird.
Yeah.
So then for a while, I just went back to drawing. Like ward puzzles during math class. You have a barbed wire fence or something, and you have this one area of an army, of the army on the other side, and you just put the pencil and like this guy shoots this guy, and you cross him out, the other guy shoots him, and you find out at the end who won the war on your drawings. That's where I went back to. That's kind of maybe I should do that as a coloring book now, I'm thinking, for the young kids. But anyway, it was like that, and then I got real serious again.
High school years, were you in the art class?
We used to call it junior high school. Mm-hmm. And I always had these weird ideas. And high school was really cool because I had an art teacher that we used to hitchhike to school. We lived around Sears Roebuck by that time it was Wyvernwood. And so we used to hitchhike down Soto to go to Huntington Park through Farmer John and all that.
To go to school every day?
Oh yeah.
Like literally just go on the side of the street and...
Oh yeah, because we would save the bus money so I can get, a better role at nutrition or something.
Yeah. And people pick you up for high school and take you?
Oh, yeah. See, one of them was this art teacher, Miss Bryant. She had a little sports car, so she used to pile like 3 or 4 of us in there and we'd take us to school a lot of times.
That's cool.
And she was my art teacher, and she used to, she'd have, and they always they like what I did, but the important part of it is she used to play jazz. She used to play West Montgomery.
Oh wow!
During the class, and because that time it was rock and roll heaven. I mean, you're talking late '60s.
Yeah, when the real music was around.
Yeah, it was cool. And then I also was a box boy, so every week I would buy a record. It was mostly rock at the time, but slowly, especially when I would hum to the West Montgomery, the Tequila and all those songs in those years.
Wow.
And then I started, I heard Pharoah Sanders, when Pharoah Sanders does that transcendent jazz thing. And then from there, to Coltrane and Miles. And as a box boy on Sundays, the manager was this black guy. He was the only, Oliver was the coolest cat. So on Sundays, I would work with them from 12 to 9. For many years, and he would play the jazz station, KBCA, the jazz, and I would listen to all that once the day crew went. So from 6 to 9, we would play jazz, and I'd be box boy, and we'd, just be a
crazy time.
Yeah, instead of the Ed Sullivan Show,
And that was in high school. That was
yes,
in high
and
school.
all the way up until maybe the first year of East LA College. By that time, 11th, 12th grade, college, I was into it.
You were deep. You already knew you were going to be an artist.
Right.
This is what my focus is now.
And I was lucky enough to have teachers that taught me not like cone, sphere, cylinder, box. It was more like hand to eye coordination, contour.
Wow.
Drawing. And then I finally got a chance to go to Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach at the time. They still do a very traditional, very good art program, art school. Mm-hmm, and then I was there until I finally got out. And so it was like the early 70s. I was in college, and I always got really good grades, and people really, they liked what I did. One teacher gave me a real good, that sort of haunts me to this day, which is true, that I don't really focus on one thing. I have different themes, so I do this theme, and then I do that's why, because I get bored easily. Even. And then I don't want to repeat myself unless there's a good story about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're to me, you're a storyteller. Through your art, you can grab something in the dimension, and then you perceive it somehow, and you put something on the canvas for us to kind of see some sort of scene. So during that time, you were just always kind of like a realist, doing more real figures.
Yeah. The reason why, again, when by the time about the 11th, 12th grade in high school, I became politicized, like a lot of kids did. We heard about the walkouts in the late 60s. I'm 67.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's so it was during this political time.
Yeah.
So the whole Chicano movement notion was just starting, and was very fortunate to be on the front line of that stuff.
And on the movement, for like us and younger viewers, what does that mean? There was a time during the 70s and 80s, right?
Well, yeah, things haven't changed much in terms of we needed better education. We were, there was like people talking about being profiled.
Okay.
I mean, we were used to that.
Yeah.
And the name calling and being a Mexican American kid, before you become a Chicano, you would kind of try to like hide that Mexican part because, like my mother, for instance, she was 16. She never really taught us Spanish, my brothers, because it wasn't going to help us. Like, you got to forget about that,
Yeah.
So for a while,
everyone was trying to instill American.
Well, the whole assimilation, but there was, injustice. Hardly any like voting rights. There was even medical genocide. If
crazy.
There's a lot. There's a lot now, but
that's when you're saying when there was a movement.
Yeah,
that was
that's when the Nazi,
and the 80s.
Especially from some of the high schools. Huntington Park a little bit because we were again the other side of Vernon. Vernon is the factory areas. So, but
a lot of oppression,
right? But I really got into it when I went to because I found like-minded souls, and I went to ELAC, and there was the Brown Berets. There was and it was about trying to stay out of the Vietnam War, the injustice of the Vietnam War, and the sheriffs and the LAPD. They were all basically like Anglo dudes, mean. They're just ruthless,
I mean, if you watch the old movies too, it's like crazy. Like what you see,
and then the thing was to try to, expose that, and they weren't. It was a really heady time in terms of police. What do they call them? Infiltrators.
Okay.
And there's so many stories, but one of the best is we found a law where if a policeman comes to a political meeting, you would state the law, and they would have to stand up and identify themselves. It was amazing. Like 3 or 4 guys. One was the sheriff. One was called SOC, Special Organizational Control from the Sheriff's Department, and they would have to stand up. And they were and they looked like in those years it was like hippie, so it was like hippie radical time,
Yeah.
And these guys had it down better than the rest of us that were just basically trying to get into college from high school and learn how to do English composition. I would take classes in ELAC to clean up what high school was about.
Yeah.
So we were all aware of that. Mm-hmm. And it was a real cool time.
Yeah.
And then, so to become a Chicano, it's like, okay, if you want to be an artist, to become, what is Chicano art? Like, what is that vocabulary? So that's why a lot of them, I decided to, because I always liked drawing from life. Mm-hmm. And so I use that as like to draw things and people from my environment that nobody wants to look at.
Right. So all those iconic pictures that I've seen you with Latinas and Chicanos men, there's like, you get the old school OGs and veteranos and gangster girls, or, that's kind of like your scenes. That's what I would.
At the time, I also did City People. For me, they were just the youth and how people dress. I also did like
the clothing's crazy. Like you got like really iconic pictures, like Lavo and stuff.
Well, that's what. Okay, I forgot to tell you. It's like when I get to college, I finally, because I was a realist, and it was difficult to stand out in the street or have somebody pose for you. So I started to use the camera as a tool, not as a photographer, as much as just I can get. Is like people that I can take back to my studio and study it and try to get beyond the photograph. And I started to use it. There was a process.
Instead of actual like a person standing in front of you and having to draw fast, you actually like take them home and really break them down and really like get involved. That's crazy.
And,
wow.
And from that, I ended up, long story short, is to start to deconstruct images within the camera. Became the sketchbook. Where I started to draw these scenes, like this painting that you saw, is after 35, 38 years of doing what I do.
Yeah.
And I think because I watched a lot of film, even to this day, I'm like a frustrated cinematographer. I would love to be a cinematographer. You know?
I think you'd crush it 100%.
Yeah, well, now, it's, but that's kind of what it was. It was, I look at things as a story. Yeah.
100%. That's what I'm saying. When I feel your pieces, me being as just a young person kind of getting into art and understanding it, I'm kind of learning through the millennials way now, and it's all collectors and everyone's trying to flip,
Oh yeah, okay.
So it's harder these days to, it's easier to learn because everything's accessible through the computer and cell phone.
Right.
But everyone's in these days, everyone's kind of innovating each other.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of storytellers like you. I don't run across them as much, especially, from LA, from the Latin descent, from, my culture too.
Right.
Because I grew up in the 90s in LA during the Chicano and Mexican, there was a lot of gangs then, right?
Right.
And so it's like coming across a storyteller of Los Angeles that's a realist is like, to me, non-existent anymore.
Well, I am old, So.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying
I'm kidding.
There's no, someone grabbing the torch saying, okay, I'm going to tell the story from, my times now, of Los Angeles.
There are some, I know some artists from Texas that's really kicking ass.
Yeah.
And there is a few, but you got to be, just like any world.
Yeah.
You got to be in the world.
Yeah.
It's like in terms of jazz, the latest guy that I really found that was really cool was Robert Glasper. So, and he crosses the old jazz to
the newer.
Yeah, and with the singers that they come, and so I got into him for a while until my wife says, "Can you just change some music?"
Yeah.
We were in it for a while. Saw him twice, and stuff like that.
I see. I'm a movie buff, and that's what your pieces. It's like first thing the thing that you can do with water. Is incredible. And we were talking a little bit before this about I came across your piece and it was an immediate emotion for me. And the way that the colors that you chose was like a certain time I can feel at the ocean. It was like right before it gets dark. And, it was immediately like, I was like, yo, what's going on? Like, who's this guy? And then you were telling me a little bit of how you painted over a black canvas instead of a traditional white
that's
canvas.
where there's this overall muted feel to it. And to tell you the truth, I didn't really remember that until we started talking about it. And you talked about this overall tone. I go, that's right. I painted on black gesso. I painted once in a while on the black gesso instead of the, like white gesso, and it does have a muted feeling. After so many, my mind races, but it is a useful technique for sorts of mood. But think about using the ocean. The ocean is it's another character. If you think about it, oceans has its personality. When I was a kid, I used to body surf. I couldn't get on the board because it was always somebody's borrowed board and whatever. I used to pearl out, I think what's called it.
Yeah.
So I was a body surfer because I was a long distance runner. So I was pretty good. I was in pretty good shape until in my 30s or something. But
you would go bodyboard, literally go out and just go in that
great.
ocean.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was because it was just that moment of, it's your body as stiff as possible. Just and that wave takes you into the shore, and after a while you have to, dodge the surfboards, and they tell you to get out of the way. And you tell them to get out of the way, So, and that was during the pre-pollution Santa Monica.
Before it became super dirty.
Oh
and
my God,
disgusting! Yeah, it's real dirty. It's
and when it first happened was the early 70s, and we're in the water, and there was this green yellowish foam, and one of the surfers like passed out on the board.
Jesus.
He says, "You better get out of here." This guy, other guy told me, because I don't know what's in the water. And then I didn't go back for a long time because it got really, really bad. But in the beginning, you'd be in high school and you have summer school, and I go home and get my trunks and towel and get on the freeway right there off of Soto and 8th Street, again, around Sears, where I grew up, right by the LA River, and get a ride to, as close to Santa Monica Beach, and if I get close enough, I just run there, because I was like a little running
runner.
machine, So I used to, body surf, and after a while, I felt the presence of the water, and I would ask permission to be in the water. I'd because of riptides and stuff, you learn how to just let it go.
Yeah.
Don't fight it, and you just learn just through intuition, being this, this crazy kid that I was a loner, which was really good. It's a good tactic as an artist to be know how to be alone. You entertain yourself.
Yeah,
you don't want to go out because you got everything. Especially if you got a beautiful wife, a beautiful girlfriend, and a nice bag of mota or something. And really good music
for sure.
Yeah,
it's all you need. And so that's I guess that's why I keep falling in love with your pieces, because I'm a water sign, and I always was associated with water because I was a water sign growing up. And you're the way that you can tell me about water is incredible.
Yeah, the water, it's a personality, because I've done a few things about water, and it's either calm or it's threatening, or it's stormy, and so that becomes another part of the story in terms of what the water's doing. And the piece you're talking about is
there's again, the way it's crazy, because you like put a car, like a lowrider car that's just super dope, and like it's a sick car in the water, and it's like a scene, and it's just beautiful, and it's like it's not sunset, it's just like a weird muted like you were saying. And the colors that you chose are just so emotional with the lowrider in the water, and like Chicano out in the it's just crazy.
There are two girls in this. It's a Firebird. It's sort of a gold yellow.
Yeah, gold yellow.
Firebird, and these two girls are standing up because the water is about to come in, and they're kind of cowering. And it's basically they drove too far.
Yeah, the car's getting engulfed.
It's in the water.
It's like engulfed.
It was so much fun to do it, but it's a beautiful day.
Very beautiful.
It's clear. There might be I don't know if there's any clouds in that one. Clouds is another character, and you see the real calm, tranquil, classic Southern California, beautiful beach. And I used to be able to. You would walk across people fighting or doing some bullshit. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And there's people throwing pedo back and forth. It's just a lot of problems. So that's what this piece was based on. It's part of a series of LA road rage. As an artist, as you keep doing your work, you got to come up with things that are right in front of your face and go, wait a minute, that's a good theme, And so then I investigate what these themes. So that was part of a road rage series of cars. People in cars,
because there was more. Then there's like, I feel like I would see people kicking it, by the before they get in the ocean, like parking lot. Of the ocean.
Yeah,
is that
off the side in the rocks.
Yeah, in the sand somewhere in there.
There's a woman, or it could be an older guy or a woman who's kind of just laying in the tide pool.
Yeah, watching
them like there's something going on out there, not trying to help them, and the other guy is either throwing a rock at him or something. Like the guy is harassing the girls in the car.
Yeah.
Instead of helping them, which is a real LA thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays you just film it.
And there's an iconic piece with a lowrider with the water actually inside of the car too.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
what was that piece?
Okay. Yeah. That's called Drive-In. That's a larger piece. And both of those pieces were done in the last 3 years, 2 or 3 years. I was very fortunate enough to be chosen to go to, especially at my age and all the art scene the way it is now. I was chosen to go to Bordeaux, France, and in France it was during the World Cup, and there was this sister city, Bordeaux, and Los Angeles, sister cities. And Bordeaux is about 20, 30 miles from the beach. It's the Atlantic, but they have a similar weather, and it's kind of a college town. And it's multi-ethnic, and the Africans there, they're Africans, so it's real different. And then there are the Arabs, and they look like Latinos, and then there's the Spaniards there, and then and there's the French. So it's kind of similarities, but it is an older town. So I was there to do a mural for a show. That
was the piece that you guys chose to do?
Yeah. One of them, one of the road rage things. And the show was a Chicano. It's called Chicano Dream, and it was about 80% of Cheech Marin's Chicano art collection.
Oh, sick! Mm-hmm.
And then it filled up with about 20% of other pieces. And then I was the one chosen to do a mural that was going to be put out in front of the museum.
Mm-hmm.
The comparable would be the Natural History Museum here. It's all about the history of France. Of course, France history goes back over 700 years, so they go back. They have this beautiful display of also the slave, and they're not ashamed of it, man. They show the chains, they show logs of how many people came through the Bordeaux region. I learned a lot. Anyway, I can go off on that. But in terms of this, what the piece you're talking about and the pieces, that's when I came back from six weeks working in Bordeaux doing this mural. So I was all Frenched out, I was all cultured out and stuff. Yeah, it was cool. So I came back to my studio and I was still off that vibe, and I was really mellow and cars would honk like, come on, man. The light turned green a quarter of a second ago.
Yeah,
I swear to God.
Yeah.
And I was like, so it took me about 2 weeks to come back to my favorite hometown, evidently. So, but anyway, so those pieces were from that. So because Bordeaux was close to the ocean, we went to the ocean there. But, when I'm looking across that ocean, we're looking at New Jersey, not China, metaphorically.
Right.
Yeah, it's a trip.
So when we go back on a timeline, and I like to do this with artists because I try to find out where like those, when did it all occur? And then how did it get to this place where you're at now, which is, just being an amazing artist and traveling and painting. In college, you were basically, when was the point where you were starting to do the grind when you're, now you're putting collections together for yourself or, pieces together and going to galleries and kind of exploring that whole world?
Yeah, at that point, again, very fortunate to be coming up when there was only one place in LA to look at art, galleries, and that was on La Cienega between Melrose and Santa Monica
So
Boulevard.
Literally right here, this whole street, La Cienega, by the Beverly Center and above, right?
Between Santa Monica Boulevard. When it started getting close to Santa Monica, which is like Barney's Beanery thing.
Yeah.
The galleries were thinning out. They mostly started around Melrose, coming north.
And that was all the galleries, literally.
All
in
the
LA,
galleries.
right there.
And there were some real hip galleries at that time. We're talking late 60s, mid to late 60s into the 70s.
And who owned these galleries? Were they just rich, just
I remember
people?
Some names like David Stewart. There was, I forget, there's a bunch of, and they would show one of the galleries showed the first Warhol showed there.
Really? Wow, crazy.
And also people like Ed Keenholz, who was a really great Wally Berman. I mean, there's probably some people Duchamp showed in LA there,
And what years were this?
60s, as far as I know. Mid
60s and 70s.
In the 70s. So we would go there, these Chicano kids, which is rare evidently.
Yeah. Like the movie Blood In, Blood Out. You're literally what's his name that was painting, right?
Oh well, yeah, a part of that. Yeah, we were those. Yeah, we were those guys. Very idealistic,
doing Chicano realism.
I was doing. Just by the fact that I am Chicano, they call it Chicano, but it was more like urban. It was obviously because my first show was about 83. These pastels, and it was basically people that I see on the streets, and I realized I was doing highly rendered imagery of people, and nobody wants to look at. I did, black people, Asian. I did my, people that I knew that if you're not from, and the idea was you bring your baggage to the imagery, and the image was a little large because I used to do murals, so I knew about scale. The figures were a little bit larger than real life, but you could look at them, and the idea was to draw it so well that you want to look at it, but then what you're looking at, you don't want to see.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's one of those college, things that I sort of learned on my own. My first things that I was doing, my first big statements, was highly painted and rendered of roadkill going to school.
Really?
Yeah, it was cool, man.
Really, you were like literally painting roadkill.
Yeah, because I was because when I used to drive from LA to Long Beach, I would be really affected by this thing you see for a second. Like, what the wow, that thing was mangled, and stay in your mind.
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of where my brain is or was, I don't know. And I would try to really highly, and then from that, I switched to Mexican crime magazines that would show like dead Mexicans, and they thought, and people would say, "Oh, you're doing the death of cholos." I says, "No, man, that's basically I'm trying to do highly rendered imagery of things that." And because I was a Chicano, the idea was they don't want to see us anyway, or they want to see us all dead.
Right. It's true.
That's it. And even to this day, a lot. And all that. So that was part of my Chicano statement about being a realist. I wanted to get into those.
You're doing them super real too, like high renders, crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
At that point, and there's hardly any left. I don't know. Some people have them somewhere. That was my college stuff. So
those are the pieces you were doing. Were you taking those pieces to the galleries on La Cienega?
Well, no. Good point. By that time, no. I was still in high school and college, and there was no opportunities for us to show in galleries.
So how did it start? So you're like, I just try to put myself in like your shoes, right? So like you also have to be somewhat of a salesman too, wouldn't you say?
Well, in those years, see, because we were budding communists, we were against capitalism whatsoever, ever, So we had to deal with a lot of contradictions. Like, how do you make a living off of your work?
Right.
And if you don't want to join the capitalist system, and so,
But you have to be a capitalist.
Yeah, figure that one out, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we did, we would, because I was used to, in Long Beach when I was going to school, I worked for a community center, and it was an abandoned movie theater there on Junipero and Anaheim Avenue, where they're going to in Long Beach, and there was a big movie theater. So a lot of us that were in school there, we would crash there, we would live there. So we had a big studio.
That's sick.
With no money. I had work study and the grants from EOP, Educational Opportunity Grants, in the 70s. Okay, so from there, I was used to having a studio. So when I come back to LA, finally get out of school, I looked around for people to join, because the strategy was to collect your resources and have cooperatives, artist cooperatives. And then from there, we had to face the fact that there was no galleries to show us. We have to show our own work, and we would do murals.
Okay.
And we would do work for the Sandinistas. So
Is this when you got into your mural? Because there was like a whole life of you as murals.
Right. Yeah. That was towards the late 70s. We were doing murals in the streets. Those are all gone.
Okay.
But
massive murals. I mean, these are like beautiful, big, giant pieces, right?
Yeah. Well, I did sell out because I was given an opportunity in the early 90s. I was showing in a gallery on Beverly, Daniel Saxon Gallery. I got in there through this artist friend of mine. His name is Gronk. People know who Gronk is. And he was part of a group called ASCO, and they just had a major traveling show. It was at LACMA. And the other group I was involved with, another group called Los Four. And those guys, bless their hearts, are pretty much, except I think there's one left. Well, there's Los Four number 5 and 6, but that's another story. This was the original group. There's one guy, well, there's two left, but one that's still doing art. He's in his late 70s or something. So they embraced me because my work was so different than theirs. I was a realist, and they would show me. I had opportunities to show with them in the early 80s. In about 1990, I was chosen to do some federal mural projects. I did the one in El Paso, and I was getting, taxpayer
now you're getting
money.
checks, big checks. You're getting the federal bank checks.
Yeah, that lasted for about 8 years. I put my son through a preparatory school.
Sick.
With the,
just off painting.
And it was like,
that's dope.
Yeah. One painting I painted for 2.5 years careful what you wish for. That's what I did for that one. It was 70 feet long, 15 feet for a federal
Jeez Louise.
A courthouse. But at the time, people were saying, "John, you're selling out, man. What are you doing?" It's like, well, I forget what my rap was. It's like, I need to do it because, I forget what it was. It's better that I do the work and do something than say, "Nah, I don't want to do it." It's like, and it'd be like, what? Am I afraid to do it?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we get an opportunity, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to last, but, I had an opportunity to do something and to go like, nah, because I have all these,
other things going on.
I've done that enough, like no billboards, all that stuff.
So you were doing galleries, let's say, let's do a time. So like around the 80s.
Yeah, I finally got it. Well, yeah, the first gallery was it was the first art boom in downtown in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
So there was no galleries downtown at that point, and people were
coming in. People were not in La Cienega anymore. LACMA was being built. There was an art scene in Venice Beach. Guys older than their 70s, all these guys. And so there was an art scene started there, and some of them showed in La Cienega. We weren't allowed to do any of that stuff. The first thing that we did, which is on Sunset, was the Zoot Suit mural when Zoot Suit was at the Lewis Carroll Theater.
Okay.
There, close to Vine.
Vine and Sunset.
And it was
right
basically
there.
for the Mark. It was for the Mark Taper, the Luis Valdez, the first Zoot Suit. When it finally got out of the Mark Taper, it went to the Lewis Carroll, and we were chosen. Our little art collective was chosen to do the mural, but it was basically a billboard. It wasn't like, I mean, that's why it's not around anymore. It was basically for the play. And for me to be on Sunset was like, wow, a goal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, because we
Huge deal.
used to go to the teenage fair, and there was these hippies would paint the Lewis Carroll Theater, and it'd be like Arthur Lee and Love, they would play there, Iron Butterfly. And
I love Iron Butterfly.
And the Turtles. And I really like Love. Arthur Lee and Love. That was, and Spirit.
Yeah.
All these, because I was a kid in college. I knew all those groups.
My pops was homies with the drummer from Iron Butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd always hear it.
Yeah, they used to drag him off the drums exhausted, almost like that James Brown with the cape thing.
Yeah.
It was cool.
James Brown was crazy. He used to just fire drummers like that, too.
Oh, yeah.
He was
I
like
saw
really,
the biography. Yeah.
So you're doing galleries, let's say 80s. And
into the late 80s.
When did so like John Valadez is also a sick muralist. I mean, that's like an iconic thing. And like you were painting the city. I mean, even Colors had one of your pieces in it, right? The movie Colors, if you ever see it.
Dennis Hopper, yeah.
Yeah. But was that like in a laundromat or something?
No, that was Victor. That was Victor Clothing. I met Dennis Hopper right before he did Blue Velvets. Somebody signed him out of a mental home in town. And he saw some work of mine at a show in downtown. Again, there were shows downtown. They weren't all galleries, but there was like this real urban downtown. It was like the first wave of the art scene in downtown, which was the late 70s, early 80s. So he saw, and I'm like, easy rider, come on, man.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper's a big deal.
Luke and all that. And,
yeah, he's a big deal.
And what was that one film that he got shot, the first guy shot in the film? It was with Clint Eastwood. Anyway, it was a hanging thing. Hang 'em high, I think it was. Yeah, Dennis Hopper's the first guy shot. Anyway, he came to my. Can you imagine? Dude comes to my studio there on Broadway. It was on 4th Street, and he liked his piece. He liked the mural, the Broadway mural, and I was starting some work in the studio with some water. That's interesting. It was.
But that's when you started doing your iconic water stuff.
Yeah,
too?
that's where I first started to get something. Yeah, it was
Starting
like
to
the
play
early
with it,
80s. Yeah.
And he comes in and is
it
like,
was called Beto's Vacation, and it became a triptych. Beto's Vacation means like, a Chicano's vacation, whatever that.
Yeah, it's a park. It's at a park.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that looks like. Like you're on a boat, it's on fire, and it's like, and there's a woman looking at where the fire is, and she's got a real nice figure. So you're not really thinking of the fire. You're thinking of her and the fire within you, like sort of that kind. And he saw that right away. And he says, I'll be back. He went to go do the film. And, and he was telling me immediately, he's that kind of guy. Anyway, that's a Dennis Hopper story. That's a whole different thing. Anyway, so that's where that started, where early 80s.
You're doing mural. So you're
And
getting
then-
mural like commissions
Yeah, he
now?
saw the mural. Right. No, you know what's funny? Because I'm known as a muralist. The first mural I did by myself was in 81. I believe the next serious one that I did was in 1990. I did other ones, but no, we worked it together with murals, but murals by myself with my own
Yeah, was in like the 90s.
was about 81, the Victor Clothing mural that's at the Rand Corporation. Now you can't even get in to see it.
Right. But it's still there?
Yeah. It's a long story short. It's when they left Victor Clothing, somebody, this very wealthy dude bought it, and they basically put it on permanent display there.
So you have to get like a tour, contact the building somehow.
I don't know, man, because people even we try to go in there and they just say, I saw it once.
And they won't even let you to go see your own painting.
It's a trip because it's a real working class painting of downtown LA. Basically, it's called a Broadway Street mural, and it was in Victor Clothing up above the dressing rooms, and now it's in one of the major think tanks of America. So when people come out of the elevator, they see urban LA from 1980s, and God knows what they're doing upstairs. Hunger, security, international, whatever. I think it's like who subverted who? You know what I mean? Like that's when my mural it ends up. Like what happened? But anyway, that's one of these ironies.
So 90s, you're doing. Did you cross over to more murals? Were you getting commissioned by people hitting you up?
Opportunity. You work with opportunity. I even got in the late 80s because of my work and what I was doing then. I got an artist in residency the first time I went to France, in the south of France. I barely go to Mexico, So I went there for about 3 months, and
you're just painting in France.
Yeah, right off the Mediterranean. But more importantly, I was able to travel to Barcelona, and I see the Dali Museum. We're talking 87. This is time. I was 36. Yeah, I was like 30. And I took my girlfriend at the time, and she's my wife now. We had the honeymoon before we even got married. It was cool.
Yeah.
Smart move, John.
Yeah.
And we went to Italy. We went to Florence, the Uffizi. So I saw art from art history, which really was inspiring. I mean, I was crying like a bitch in front of some of the paintings.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought, man, and I said, well, it could be jet lag too.
Could be a little bit of both and some wine.
But it was, and then the guards would be like, What's wrong with
What's wrong with this one?
God, that's the Delacroix, the tiger hunt. Like, what? And Caravaggio stuff. So after that, I started doing. When I came back, I started doing a lot of European stuff. So I just got it out of my system, and my friends were like, "John, you're driving me crazy with this Europe stuff. Get over it.
Yeah.
So I slowly got back into Europe, and then back to urban LA, and then I got I'm thinking. Because I don't really think about my chronology, but I think the next major murals were the federal mural projects. And I got 2 of them, because the first one in El Paso, because I was, it was great just to get a job. And I always try to do the best that I do. And there's a distinction between public art and my gallery work. Public art, I see people are kind of forced to see it, especially if you're up on federal charges in a federal courthouse.
Right.
You got to go in there. But gallery, you choose to go see the work. So I knew the distinction, And so I got a mural in El Paso, and I learned all that culture, that whole border thing in the early 90s. It was during the Rodney King beatings and the LA riot. That was the area that every time something happened in LA, I was in El Paso, man. Seen it. I'm not kidding. Seen it on TV. The first Gulf War to the LA riot, man.
I mean, it was better to be there because it was scary here at that time.
Well, I would have photographed like crazy. You kidding? That's for me. This is my city.
Yeah, my mom was a videographer for the news.
Oh yeah.
She she used to sit in the news vans.
Yeah, right.
And just go film.
Oh, that's
and
scary.
Edit it and she did it for 36.
They would bang the
my
van.
mom's been, gunpoint trying to jack the cameras.
Right.
She was in the riots trying to film it.
Sure.
Chicana lady, just a videographer, and she finally, she finally's chilling now. But for 36 years she's been a videographer.
That's really good to hear.
She was the only Latina, a journalist to go into Baghdad remember when the war happened?
Yeah, in the 90s.
She went out there and filmed it. Out there. Yeah, so it was pretty, crazy to see it from her perspective. Just to give you a reference,
you're her son, man.
Well, only child too, and no dad around, so it was just me and her. And her whole life was dedicated to journalism.
Wow.
So I will tell you a cool story about her. Remember the earthquake happened?
Yeah.
And I remember my mom wakes up and she goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, gotta go to work." And I'm like, I don't know, I was 14, 15.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just scared this crazy thing happened. It's like 4 something in the morning.
Right.
She's like,
"That's right.
Go to the neighbors, gotta go."
Yeah.
And she just
no power,
no power, no phones, But she's a hardcore, journalist and telling the story.
Better show up. That's her job, man.
Yeah. So
that's a cool story.
Going through LA through her point of view, because I hear it when she comes home, the riots are crazy, I got a gun pointed at me today. Those perspectives were very scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, that's a guy that, makes stories about LA. Imagine to be gone when these things happen.
Yeah.
For me, it becomes romantic, what I would have done, because I have a friend that he passed away. He was part of Los Four. He lived in Hollywood, right off of Hollywood and Las Palmas or somewhere around there. Not Las Palmas.
But like the heart of Hollywood in that area?
Cahuenga, Cahuenga, right by the...
Down the street.
Yeah, right. Yeah, where that... anyway, Fredericks of Hollywood, around there.
Okay.
He grew up around there.
We all know Fredericks.
He had stories that... The whole thing blew up. I mean, the thing's burning down, and I think I was into painting fire in those years. I think I did a Europe piece. But anyway.
On these murals, they take you a long time to complete, right?
If they allow me, yeah.
It's a dedication, right? Like at least a year sometimes?
Yeah, those ones. Right, the Broadway one in 80, that took a year and a half, but they didn't really give me a time because I was under the building. I was literally in the basement where people walk over the sidewalks painting it there. Okay. And then I got a studio upstairs for $200 that for 7.5 years they never raised the rent. And that kept me from being homeless, in the car. I had to pay $200 a month.
Yeah.
And then for the next 7.5 years, I paid $700 for a really large, 2,000 foot. Again, Again, I've been very fortunate. There's something... and then when it happens, you take advantage of it. Things you thank the gods, the spirits, whatever the karma is around you.
Yeah.
Try not to fuck it up, stuff like that. And
how was the pop back then compared to now? Is it a lot?
It depends on where you got it. I mean, I remember there were times
it wasn't as strong, right? Would you?
Oh
say?
No, there was some strong stuff. Okay. I remember. But it was like for $15 for an ounce, and this was Acapulco Gold, man.
Okay. So you were getting Acapulco Gold stuff.
It was better than the hash. If you want to start talking about that stuff, we took a trip with this friend of mine, and at the time we were kids. You're 20.
Yeah.
I have a Volkswagen, and we just took off. Went up towards Truckee and Reno area, Salton Sea, Pyramid Lake, and
Salton Sea too, which is like not.
No, not the Salton Sea. It was the one up north by.
It's like a ghost town now, I think. Salton.
Yeah, no, I've never been to Salton Sea. Okay. I mean north. Thanks for catching me. Lake Tahoe.
Oh, Lake Tahoe.
Come on.
Okay.
And also Pyramid Lake, which was. An indigenous, it is a reservation, and I don't know what the tribe is with the group, but they would charge us something and leave, and then the mosquitoes would come. You have to stay in the car, man. Yeah, it was a trip.
So but anyway, Acapulco Gold,
and you'd be really stoned. Yeah. And then we used to get weed all the. We'd get some pretty good. I mean, there was a point where there were times where in the 80s where I just had a little bit of money. And the choices were, as being an artist, do I eat or do I buy some weed? Okay? And guess what I chose?
Right.
And the other thing was, do I finish this drawing or do I go look for a job?
Yeah.
And guess what I chose?
Yeah.
I mean, and these are hard choices because you're down to
the bottom.
I mean, not even
couple cents in your pocket.
Like my daughter used to say, not even oranges and beans, Daddy. We had oranges and beans.
Yeah.
And so I always chose to do my work.
Yeah.
And
Did the pot obviously take you even deeper when you're painting? Do you really you can get deep in?
Well, it's funny you say that, because even to this day, I've been doing art for 40 years now. And the way I get stimulated is I smoke some, because I work anyway. So my brain is wired to when I smoke, I want to work.
I love it.
Yeah, it's weird. Some people, they smoke and they can't work. And I get over that paranoia thing, like, nah, that's,
It's, so the paranoid stuff happens. And I found when I, jam, I put a loop on and I just start, playing. Great. The paranoia, it goes away when you're in that.
Right.
You're in that pocket. It doesn't even matter. And then you go through crazy stuff too while you're in that zone. So,
sure, right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I just start working because it's hardwired. You smoke and then you start drifting.
No, I've always been really fortunate. It doesn't happen as much because I've been doing it, I guess, for so many years. And
you're an OG. You're
and
an OG.
to find the muse, to find what inspires you is different from when I was younger, because I've ideas. Well, I've done that. How do I push it? I know what the next step of that piece is. So I could do something that's about 3 years later. I found the next chapter in a way, because it's all realism.
So in a John studio, you take. Let's do it in layman terms. I like to do.
Okay, sure.
We put on some music. You got some music in the background, right? You've got a canvas you're ready to hit. Maybe have some. Obviously ideas. So is it drawn out mathematically what you're going to do, or sometimes you just walk up to it and say, okay, take a little hit, put some music on and just start shredding?
Well, it does. Yeah, it does. At the beginning, I used to just look at a wall and see stuff.
Okay.
Well, that's when I was young.
Okay.
And I was trying to prove myself and follow whatever that journey was. And it's like a writer. Even to this day, you get an idea. You have an idea, whatever it is. It could be a figure. It could be, I want to do some more water.
Got it.
Because I haven't done it for a while, and because it's transcendent to just try to just draw the water and whatever it is. And I always have sources. I always work from.
Okay.
But I always disguise it, and I also use between 5 to 12 images to make it look like one scene.
Crazy.
That's the way.
Yeah.
And for a while, there was a friend of mine that really great artist. He passed away, and it was right when the computers were coming. And he said, "John, you predicted. No, you do Photoshop by hand." I said, "That's Photoshop, what you're doing."
Sure,
I was like, "Wow, that's right. I didn't think about that, because you got to change the shadows. You got to keep the colors together." And you got to make it. You got to keep the scale, and you're basically creating a realistic illusion.
And do you freestyle the scenes like?
I use everything.
Okay, there's all ways you hit these.
Oh yeah, especially when you do the murals, because of scale, and sometimes because of time, you use all kinds of stuff, and some of them are like artist secrets and stuff. But it's basically like anybody has a.
Their little signature that they.
Yeah, it's like if you do a tune and you just change one note of an oldie, it becomes a whole nother thing. It's like that's sort of an analogy. But now it's basically.
And oils, you use oils?
I use oil. I use acrylic. I use pastel. I use pencil, graphite. I used to do spray can murals in the 70s, but we didn't take it seriously. This friend of mine, again, he's passed. He was a spray can artist. He would do cartoon figures and he would do lettering. So we've gone through all that, but I never really took any of that seriously. I never did like black guys, which is like like hand and like gang writing style. We were doing that for a while, and we were following. So I used to put that in some of my work. But you have all these ideas. But I always wanted to get back to drawing. I always loved downtown. I would do the blind people, preachers.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then people like shoppers just looking back at you and.
And all these pieces that we are talking about, they're all sold now. And
yeah, right. Yeah, I have
some galleries.
I have a few things, but I don't sell those because
they're personal.
Yeah, I got to leave something to the family.
100%.
There's a couple, that
1,000%. I believe in that.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of have to remember that, because sometimes I go, man, I should, this guy wants this piece and he's charging me. asking me so much for it. It cleaned up a lot of debts for about 2.5 months. And, so there's really
But it's still a piece of you, and your family does, that's their heirloom of you.
Yeah, that's all that. But the creative process, it's similar. And I don't think in every creative process is about getting an idea and then seeing where that goes. Like you get like one or two things, a figure on a sidewalk or figure with a cloud or something simple. And it's like, okay, what is this telling you? It's almost like writing. You know how you start with a center, a figure, or like in music, you have a little riff, you have a little thing. Where is it going? Like, what does it want to tell me?
Yeah.
And you just
kind of get in that groove, right? And kind of master it.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a few months.
Sometimes you can't master it either.
Yeah, right. Well, but there is a point. Again, there is a point that I found that halfway through a project or a drawing or something or a painting, you can quit because it's not going there. You have to believe in it again. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Do I abandon this or do I keep going? There's always a rough spot. It could be. You know what? It could be what you ate the night before.
1,000%.
That's it. It could be that simple. It's like I'm not in the mood, but I should be working.
Yeah.
And this looks like shit today.
Feel like shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it? That's the way.
And so like your 30s and 40s, you were doing more gallery stuff or commissions and.
Yeah. I was doing. Gallery work. Once in a while, you'd get a project, some kind of like an album cover or a portrait of some people want my sense of realism, and I would do a portrait of
I would love one.
Yeah. It's all about timing too, because sometimes I've got enough money in the bank, the wife's happy. And I could do my thing.
Yeah, you're chilling, just kind of coasting now.
And then sometimes, now I'm getting Social Security, which is like I send a drawing every month. It's amazing, man.
It's even better.
I send a $1,500 a drawing every month,
That's
and
sick.
it's in the bank. It's cool to be a certain age, and still healthy,
Yeah, that's what I look up to now. It's like when I accomplishments, I'm like, wow, he got to that age and he's health free. He has no issues.
I mean, I haven't been checked, but so far
that's better. If you haven't been checked, you're fine now.
And we do have a high Chicano do have a high tolerance of pain.
We do for sure. So then the gallery world is you're out there, you're grinding. Do you get managers and stuff like that? That's kind of like the grind for an artist.
Yeah, well, like getting an art gallery and a manager, all that. That's like a marriage without sex, because it is economic. It's about trust. Nowadays, Nowadays, the art world is so big. There are a lot of shysters coming around wanting to be managers. And they rip you off.
Okay.
Remember, when I saw art galleries were on La Cienega, went about 3 or 4 blocks, big blocks, but after a while there was both sides of the streets. But so there were the hip galleries and the newcomers, the galleries. That was it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's a whole, it's better than stocks art.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is. It's insane. So there's a lot of people that come in and they know how to, be artistic with someone else's money or someone else's art. And I've been going through some of that experience now.
It's a weird, it's a whole new world now.
Oh man, it's a whole, because we're basically set up to be, trusting artists that all we want to do is do our work, and and then you got to find somebody to sell it, and they tell you what you want to hear, and all of a sudden, it's your turn to get paid, and they give you some bounce checks, and do you have enough money to get a lawyer to chase
deal with that,
or do you do it the Ovadio style, and it's like, I don't want to do that because that's a whole nother onda, man. You know.
What you do right now is a phenomenal, inspiration. And I wish I was born with the gift to sit there and kind of draw. I have too much anxiety. I'll just start wigging out. But I live through that, and
cool, man.
I time warp when I see art like yours. Because I wasn't around in the 70s, but you make me see it, and you make me see it through interesting places too. and the water pieces that I've seen, again, they're so emotional. I couldn't imagine walking through one of your galleries with just all that art on the wall, and just sitting there and just tripping out on, your perspective on Los Angeles and the Latin community in Los Angeles. And then even seeing it through a timeline, kind of looking through a gallery of like when maybe you first kind of started all the way to now and how it's morphed. I've always fell in love with art like that when I walk by it. Who are your inspirations, John? Who were guys that you were like, wow?
Yeah, well, the one guy that comes to mind now that is Goya.
Okay, Goya. Okay.
Goya, because he was the kind of an artist that painted his time, drew and painted his time, and he got into the superstitions, the culture,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the Spanish artists, Rivera, and the ones that I really liked, where I studied, were the ones that used to claim that the Virgin Mary came to the studio and sat down and tell them what colors to do her robe and all that. Those artists, those were a
dope.
trip because if you said that wrong, they burn you at the stake. Okay, so those guys had their rap down. Okay, there's artists like that. I like Myth.
Okay.
And then also as I grew, in LA when it was like Dali was everyone's favorite.
Everyone loves Dali.
When I was in high school, man, Dali, and basically like news magazines and newsreels and film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was that kind of stuff.
And you follow up on all of these guys right now, like Kaz and Murakami and stuff like that. Do you?
Some of it, yeah, right, yeah. Some of it. I need to get out more because I'm too safe. Right now I'm doing a little mural project for an apartment building in Long Beach, so I'm able to do.
That's sick.
Yeah, I'm able to do like water again, but it's kind of it's much more mellow. There's a crashing wave, and then there's people in the water. It's halfway done. Mm-hmm. I'm in the clouds now, and the clouds are real stormy because I'm reflecting society today. And then I'm going to put a lot of imagery in the clouds, surfers being chased by sea monsters, but it's real subtle. You won't be able to see. Yeah, it's fun. It's and also the old Long Beach amusement park. When I was a kid, we used to go there. And I'm going to put a lot of stuff. Yeah, there was it was a pike, and supposedly Disney was inspired by the pike, and also this is like old people stuff right now, but it was inspired by the pike, which was there was a roller coaster it was two roller coasters they used to race. It was a double track in Long Beach on all that wood.
Yeah,
scare the hell out of you, man. And they would race, they would be like
on like literally wood,
over the ocean and stuff.
That's wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of LA history that it's in photographs.
What's your go-to like Mexican restaurant in LA?
Wow, I don't
tacos.
I go to in the mornings. There's La Abeja, and it always changes. You don't
have like a place that you've been eating
not
at
anymore
for like 30, 40 years,
because
20 years.
They closed down. You know, the one that's still around is La Abeja. Like when I had the residency in Europe in 86, 87, and my girlfriend and I we came back, and she broke up with me because I was too old for her. But then she came back. But the first place we went to, because we were in France for 3 months, went to La Abeja just to have the beans, man. I was like, we're back.
There was a restaurant in East LA, I think. They had it in El Paso. It's called Citos. Okay. And they had a Citos out here.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
They had a Citos out here.
It closed down. I know exactly. It's at the bottom of Tepeyac.
Yeah.
And we used to go there a lot. All the time.
And there's one that it's the same people from El Paso.
Right.
And
okay.
So I would go visit my grandma in El Paso in the summers, and then I'd eat with her. She loved that place. And my mom was like, "Oh, we have one here," and she would take me once.
Yeah, and they have that avocado sauce. It's the only place that had it.
That was bomb. Right. Yeah.
So there were some favorites. One was La Paria, also, because I had a studio in Boyle Heights for about 3 years recently. And I used to walk there, and there was these really cool little restaurants. I don't even know the name of them, Tres Oros or something. It was like real funky. Mm-hmm. And we used to go there. There was another one where it was in like Pico Union, and the waitress would cook the food. She'd say, what do you guys want? Then you see her cooking it, which is very different. And it was like, there's been so many different ones. When I was a kid, there was one called Cal Max. When I was a kid, and they were where 8th Street hits Olympic, up a little bit past Lorena, Boyle Heights. Yeah, when you tell me, see, I think of different ones.
You and you started teaching too at some point, right? You were like doing you teaching the youth at certain places.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I taught for a long time. I got a job in the 80s. I was teaching in the prisons.
Oh wow!
I was teaching in the men's prison. You know, medium security. In those years, you could whatever the funding was in the 80s, where you can teach from bongo to script writing. I'm not kidding. You could damn near weightlifting. You could teach. There was video, and I used to teach. Art, murals, painting, and also drawing. And I really like the women's prison because the men were always conspiring. Not the ones in the class, but some of the dudes when you walk through, because you're a free man, they would conspire to fucking keep you there. They could kick your ass.
That's crazy.
I'm not kidding. It was crazy, man. Says I got to get out of here, man. This dude with black hair scared the shit out of me once. I still see his dude's got to wash his face, man. He's crazy fucker. And so I really like the women's prison. I forget it was out there. And
so you were teaching at the women's prison
for a while. Yeah, it was like for a few years. And one of the Manson girls was in my class, and she was the best artist.
Wow. I was gonna say you were living and went through the whole Manson and all that crazy.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
right. Yeah, no, that was our. They fucking ruined the whole hippie scene there.
Yeah, but Tarantino's coming out with.
I saw
the
that
Manson piece. Should be interesting.
Yeah,
there's a lot of hoopla about it, right? Like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. I used to work for Peaches Records. He's gonna recreate it on Hollywood. I worked for the. Yeah, see, because when you're from LA, that's what everything's LA, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my whole, and actually, the world came to us. Like, how come you don't travel? No, the world,
everything's here.
When I travel now, it's like you go to certain countries and you eat their food.
Yeah.
Here you can have Thai.
Every single.
One day you can have, all that.
The real Chinese Rolling Heights Alhambra. You can have, real, anything you want is here.
I saw this once. We're coming down Melrose and we saw what is it? Asian tapas. Like, oh, there you go again, teriyaki burritos, all that.
Yeah, like all
normal.
the fusion. Yeah, it's crazy.
And those are like, wow, that's heavy. When back in the day, wow, what's that taste like? Teriyaki burrito. That was in Little Tokyo.
Are you gonna do any new lithographs or serigraphs coming out in the future so we can us broke boys can afford some of your stuff?
Yeah. It's just right now. My main thing is getting this mural out from under my life.
This is your right now. You're stuck on the mural.
I got about 2 months left, about a month and a half. I should have got it done sooner, but I've got to get it to where I have to be able to drive by it and be proud of it. Right now, it's like I don't want to fake it. I'm too old to be fake, so it takes time.
It's your masterpiece,
and you never get enough in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
But you take it on, and the weeks fly by.
Yeah,
I mean, I wish this on anybody. You go to work and you do your thing, and because you don't want to do it, it's because of you. That's not because, especially if you're doing what you want to do and you do it for how many years. Any excuses is your own bullshit. This is what I set up my life to be. Pretty cool, and even my wife calls. This is what you want. You're doing exactly what you wanted to do. And once in a while, I mean, it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
it's what I set it up. So it's up to me, man. If I start getting bored, you're bored. You're looking at yourself, know. So you got to be a hard task maker for yourself.
Well, I'm waiting for some more, serigraphs to drop from you at some point, or lithos.
Cool, yeah,
I'll be bugging Rigo. I'm like, yo, I need one of each.
Oh yeah, well, there's this one you might like. It's called Chicano Heaven. I'll have Rigo let you check it out.
Check it out. Okay, I need one up here. I need you. Yeah. I need you as my inspiration now, because I'm honored. This is what we do every day. And I truly, appreciate people that have been through a lot and been through the scenes in LA and share their life with us. I think that's what you do. You give a piece, and every piece you do, you give it back to us and tell us a story. Yeah. And it's hard to, I'm always like, not worthy whenever I meet artists that literally have dedicated their whole life to that and gave themselves away, and charged as well. Charged us for it, but also, it's a great thing for the community. And again, to me, you're one of the last great storytellers of our city.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks.
There's uprising now. You have
there's people kicking ass, man.
Yeah, the younger now you have Deffer and a lot of these other artists that have their perspective.
Sure.
But from those generations and those decades that are gone, there's no one really there holding the torch telling us how it was, even 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right.
And now I can go in time warp and get to see it and see your perspective on it. And so, for that, it's a true honor to meet you and sit down in front of you. I appreciate that, John. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
You ask really good questions. You make my mind go back like, okay, I remember that. And because I don't really reflect, much.
Yeah. Well, you're just because you're a husband, you're a grandpa, you're a artist, you're a muralist.
I'm in debt. Yeah, it's like everybody else.
Well, you're a real artist.
There you go.
And then, how do people follow you? They you have John Valadez on Instagram.
Yeah, right. I have to rebuild my web.
We got to get that
website.
for you.
Yeah, I don't have that. Yeah, I've got the. Yeah, I'm still back about 2001 in terms of a lot of this stuff, but
so we're gonna say John Valadez at Instagram. That's
right.
How people
John Valadez, and there's John Valadez Art
.com,
and that's pretty much and my Facebook page.
Okay.
There's
So if you want to get a hold of him, just or go through his pieces,
right?
You can look him up.
Right. And, right. There's It's I don't make it easy, evidently. I don't even think about it. And I go, I gotta start.
That's the new stuff now. I mean, literally, it's direct to market.
My son tells me that. My son's 29. He says, he tells me that he has people that can help me do the website. Okay, but I got to go work right now, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, you're a true artist, and you're an LA treasure. So,
thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right,
cool. John.
Okay.
All right,
man.
Right.